So as you can see here, at the top of the screen you're going to see 4 individual HUD elements, which are basically your solo objectives. So in World of Speed there is team racing and solo racing. There's going to be plenty to do for people who want to be in solo mode or be part of a team and race, but all of the game modes, well, the majority of the game modes are centered around this objective systems that we've put in. And objectives are really kind of mini goals within the race that that give you points and will help you determine who is the victor of the race. In World of Speed, really, being the first across the finish line doesn't guarantee your victory anymore. It's about how many points that you can get throughout the race by completing these objectives. As you can see in this race, some of the objectives that you have to do are to slide around the corner, or you know, drift around a corner for a certain amount and gain a certain amount of points, or to draft an opponent for a certain amount of time, master the track for a certain percentage of the whole track, which means that you have to stay on the racing line, you have to you know, head into the corners with optimal speed and keep your grip and come out on the apex. And there are other objectives in the game that are a little bit more dirty, like there's dirty overtake, trading paint, which is always a lot of fun for some players, maybe not so much for other players. We've got a huge list of objectives, and it really kind of comes into play a whole lot more during team races, and we're going to go into that a little bit later in the next video that I'm going to show you guys, but for now we'll just enjoy these guys racing on our London track. One of the cool things in World of Speed is the cars and the locations. Now, with the locations, we're going to have a mix of licensed circuits from around the world, you know, places like Silverstone, Bathurst, Brands Hatch, but we're also going to have real city locations, and these are places that, you know, you really wish that you could race in real life, but you're never going to be able to. Like, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to race through right in front of Buckingham Palace, and you know, the Slightly Mad Studios development team has gone out to a whole bunch of locations around the world, spent a lot of time in those locations, you know, taking a whole ton of reference video and photos, and really kind of tried to create, you know, the funnest tracks possible in these locations. So some of the locations that we've announced are London, Moscow, the California Highway, which we're going to show you in a couple minutes. We have other locations planned that we are already working on now that we haven't announced, that will come in after the game launches. So it's going to be a ton of fun. You know, in terms of cars, we're not really boasting World of Speed in terms of the number of cars that are in the game. Our philosophy on cars is that we are going to have the cars that you want to drive in our game. It's and that really kind of goes into the way that we actually categorize our cars too. You know, when you're talking with a buddy and you're, you know, like, what type of cars do you like? Your buddy's not going to turn around and be like, oh, I like you know, Class A or Tier 1 cars or this and that. They're going to talk about cars in terms of like, oh, I like Japanese tuners, or I like old classic muscle cars, and or I'm only an exotics fan. And that's really the way that we've classified the car in the game. So when you're in the game and looking for a car, you're going to be looking at them through categories like you know, city runners, coupes, tuners, retro cars, exotic supercars, and that sort of classification, which kind of you know, makes it a lot easier to find the cars, but it's also a little bit more engaging. Alright, so I did talk Okay, so I'm going to try not to talk as much as I did during that first video. There are a few things that I want to tell you guys about, but at the same time I do want to let you guys kind of enjoy the video and check it out. And again, I encourage everyone to post your questions into the live stream chat here, so we can answer them in between this video and the next video. Okay, so in the last video we showed, it was a solo race with other players and with solo objectives that you had to do. This is a straight up team race, and again, the objectives really come into play. And as I said before, being the first to cross the finish line does not guarantee your victory. In team racing, it really is truly all about the team. Yes, it is important to be the first person to cross the finish line, as it does give your team additional points and can help you get the victory, but it's not the only way to win. So as you can see at the top there in a slide, it shows up, so it shows you who you can potentially go after to try to prevent them from completing their objectives. So you're going to have a bunch of different objectives during races that are really contradictory to each other. So you may have a objective that states, you have to master 75% of the racing line. And you may also have an objective that says you have to take 4 shortcuts. Well, obviously you can't master the racing line if you're leaving the racing line to take the shortcuts, which is really where the team play kind of comes into it. You're going to need a guy who's going to be just sticking to the racing line and trying to get first place while having a teammate that's going after the which also gives them their objective. So it's really a lot of cat and mouse in this, where you can either choose to just ignore the other team and go after objectives, or you can choose to be that one that's kind of banging around and trying to prevent your opposing team from completing their objectives, and it's a lot of fun. And it really kind of complements the customization system that we've made in World of Speed. So Slightly Bad Studios has taken kind of a different approach to the way we do our customization, and it's really heavily inspired by what how systems similar to that work in typical MMO. So starting with the visual customization, World of Speed is going to offer everything that you would expect to see. You're going to be able to change your rims, change your paint, create your own liveries with our vinyl and decal editor. You're going to be able to swap body parts like hoods, skirts, front bumpers, rear bumpers, add a spoiler, all that sort of stuff's going to be in. And we've actually even thrown in a couple little extra ones too. We'll have a detail about yet, but we will, hopefully soon. But it's we want to give everybody the ability to express themselves and their creativity as much as possible through the visual customization system. One important note about the visual customization is that it does not affect the car's performance. So putting a spoiler on does not give you additional grip or handling. And the reason behind that is we looked at a lot of other games that had customization in it that had where the visuals affected the car's performance, and we found that once you got to like the top tiers of racing, all the cars just basically started looking the same, and people were really restricted in the way they could express themselves through their visual customization, and that's not something that we want to do in World of Speed. We want people to be able to express themselves and create whatever liveries they want without having to worry about the way how it affects their performance. Now, this race is almost over, and I will be talking about the performance customization in just a few seconds while this ends. But again, guys, I do encourage everybody to donate to the Extra Life, to the Raptors team. That URL is extra-life.org. Maybe I'll just let you guys watch this one. So here it is. Okay, so one, and the community is going to be pretty psyched about it because they've been asking about it. So one thing that I didn't get a chance to touch on during the team racing video, and I know that we're watching a solo race right now, and I've just kind of let you guys enjoy that, but I want to talk a little bit about the social aspects of the game in terms of, you know, we have a heavy focus on team racing in the game, and we want to let players take that a step further. You know, like a lot of times people will just kind of create their own guilds or clubs or crews or whatever you want to call them, just you know, them and their friends, and kind of and just race. So what we're doing is we're actually allowing people to create clubs in game, and you know, be able to create the club, recruit players in, manage your players that are in it, and what that will do is not only will it give you a whole bunch of additional perks, like you'll be able to have your club logo, your club colors, you're going to be able to there's a few other ones that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, so that's why I had to cut myself off there. But one thing it will do is it lets you participate in a club exclusive game mode called Territory Wars. Now, if you've been watching some of the signage around, especially in the London track, you'll notice that a lot of the signage has, you know, the same color and logo on them, and that's because there is a club that owns that location. So with Territory Wars, there is clubs can battle to own locations in the game, and so when a club owns the location, not only will all the signage in that location be for the club, for everybody who plays the game, so even if I'm not part of a club and I log in, and I'm still going to see that this other club owns the this location, which is, I think, pretty cool. But